Hi everyone, happy Thursday. We have really freezing cold weather here in Ireland this week. I think that whatever hit the US last week and a little before has come full force to hit us here. We had snow yesterday. We don't often get snow in Ireland, and we really rarely get snow in March. So it was a little bit of a novelty, but the cold I could kind of do without. Hi everyone, thank you all for joining me. I hope you're having a good week there. We've been so busy here that it's actually, I think, kept us moving, and it's been a very good week to be busy because it has been so chilly. Hey Liz, it's cold and sunny in Western New York as well. Oh, well, I'm glad it's not just us. I have been kind of very busy this week, so I have in fact got a checklist in front of me, which I often don't do. Normally I end up rambling and talking back and forth here, but there are so many different things I'd like to talk to you about today that I thought that having a list and making sure I got them was a good idea. So don't leave too soon, because you might miss one of the fun things that's going to happen today, or that I'm going to get to tell you about. If you have forgotten, or if you miss any of the points along here, or you want to learn more, hop into our newsletter. Make sure you're on our newsletter as well, because it's going to be a very information-packed newsletter this week. You may have noticed on our feed every week we usually post out a community question, and it's really, I love watching your responses coming in and getting for a feel for how you start a pattern or how you make a decision on projects. Because this week's community question was asking you what inspired you to start a project. And it's a little bit different from other kinds of inspiration, because it's in particular what makes you go, I have to pick up my needles and knit this now. And there was a huge variation in answers that came back. I think the number one that came back was definitely patterns. After that was colour. Some of you, the colour was enough to inspire you to knit. And then the other one after that was specifically going in and saying, I want to knit for a person. Or in the case of a few of you, it was for your grandchildren. For me, I have all of those as well, and each of them is different depending on the purpose of my project. Because if I'm doing it for a club, it's pattern, but before that, it's actually the colour. So that when I go ahead and figuring out what I want to put together for the clubs and things like that, it's all about the colour. It's like, what colour do I want to knit with? So the colour is first most with clubs. Then when it's something like a knit along where I know what the yarn is, then it's all about the pattern and specifically what I want to wear. So when I'm doing garments, I'm thinking about what am I want to wear, what would be best with that outfit, or what am I missing, what colour do I want to knit, what style do I want to knit. And then Christmas and things like that, it's always kids. It's like someone needs something, they'd love something that fits them in a particular size or a particular colour, and you get to actually match it in for them. Elsa Louise, you were asking me about my sweater. This is one that I haven't actually worn it in a while because it was being held up as a shop sample. It's Mithril, and it is, it's actually, I'm really sorry I didn't take it down sooner, because it's a lovely one to wear. It is knit, it's a very lightweight, it's in cumulus knit, very lightweight from the top down, and the style is actually quite long. It's kind of a tunic style, but because it's top down, you can shorten it. The top part is textured, and then it goes from there into a stitch pattern, kind of a lacy stitch pattern, and then the cowl is all added afterwards. So it's left very open, which means that if you don't want a cowl, or if you want something looser, you can do it after the fact. And the sleeves are picked up with short rows from the top down. So it was in fact knit along several years ago, but it's warm because cumulus, if you've used it before, is a brushed alpaca. I was going to say more, it's alpaca and silk blend. Very lightweight, but it's really warm. So it makes it a very good extra one if you're traveling and you want something warm packed in, or because it's so soft, you normally wouldn't have to wear it with something like this. You could wear it with just like a tank top or a t-shirt or something underneath it, and it's really is warm but next to the skin soft. So it might be one you haven't spotted before, because it is definitely an older one, but we've got a fairly big range of cumulus up on the website now. And there's a few colours that haven't really been noticed. Things like there's a lovely moss green that we got in that is gorgeous. And so if you want to pick one of those colours that there is in the Mithril kit for, just pick the number of skeins you want. Because it doesn't take many skeins, it is an astonishingly cost-effective knit. So it's well worth the check out, because I think that I haven't really talked about it in a while, and I'd almost forgotten about it myself because it was hanging up on the wall. So go take a look, and maybe it's something you'd like to add into your wardrobe for a good in-between one. Liz, it looks lovely on. Thank you. And yes, you got to get, I'm so glad you got the kit when you came. I don't remember what colour you got, so you can remind me what the colour was that you actually bought in this kit. So that's the first thing that I was kind of talking about, is kind of taking a look at the community posts and popping in where your inspiration comes from and things like that, because it's really, really interesting for us. And it also helps maybe to, when we're explaining a pattern, as in where it might fit in, or possibly even sharing it in different colours and things like that from test knitters, so you get a much better feel for what it looks like in different colours. If could I repeat the name of the sweater? It is Mithril. I'll spell it up carefully, and I will link it when I put the live up, so you'll actually have a link to the shop, because I'm almost guaranteed to spell it wrong if I'm spelling it out here. So I'll put it up when I put in the notes when this gets posted up afterwards onto the grid. So our mystery knit along Campo Nights, the final clue has come out today, and it's really, really fun to see everyone's posting about it. We've got a couple of new knitters who have found it a very good way of actually learning a good colour work technique, I think, for starting off with, because it's slip stitch colour work. Looks great, but you're only using one colour a row. And the whole way through, when I'm like, every time I do a knit along, I actually learn from all of you as well, because the kind of questions that I get, both from videos or for the interaction, means the next time I write a pattern, I can fill in that information much more completely, so that there's as little guesswork as possible. Because when you put words down, they can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. But when I have a feel for how knitters more often interpret them, I can really tweak the words to make them as understandable to everyone as much as possible. It's never going to be perfect, but I can keep improving. That's kind of, I think that's our motto here, is like, there's no such thing as perfection. We can just keep improving what we're doing, making it a little bit better the next time. This final, it's going to look amazing. And I forgot to put I kind of missed this one in here. Oh, Laura spelled it up, Mithril, M-I-T-H-R-A-L. And Liz got it in teal, which is another lovely new colour that we got. So yeah, check out some of those really nice colours in the Cumulus. And so the final clue, I'm flip-flopping back and forth, but our Campo Nights, the final clue, we're doing a little riff on the dragon wing stitch pattern so far. Because the dragon wings, it's the slip stitch pattern, and then we're using 1x1 cables to kind of pull the stitches out and take a fairly simple slip stitch pattern and make it a bit more interesting. Now when we move on to the edging, we're taking the same basic pattern and just switching up the background a little, so that it's starting to blend into the edging and just look a little bit different, changing different colours. So there's different colour combinations, but they're just moving through from one to another. So it's really looking gorgeous, all of the colour combinations. I don't think I have seen any of the photos that have gone up that I haven't gone just looking at the colours going, oh, they look so nice together. All completely different, all just as beautiful as the previous one. So if you want a little bit of inspiration and you don't mind the secret being given away, you can go and actually have a little peek at some of the photos going up. Elsa Louise, how was the photo shoot? Well, we got half of our photo shoots done. Last weekend was quite chilly, and on Saturday we got the photo shoot done for the Celtic Knits, which actually leads me into one of the other points that I have here that I wanted to talk about, was the fact that the Celtic Knits Club first installment has shipped out. There's a couple of extra packages to go out. We're almost there, but I think by tomorrow the last of the packages should have gone out. So anyone who is involved in that would have gotten their packages. And that was the photo shoot we actually did last weekend. Last Saturday, we got some really nice photos for the first two patterns that are going to be in the Celtic Knit installment. If you're curious what it's about and you didn't get into the full Celtic Knits one, there's still the digital options you can pop in there. So those two are up. The next pattern did not get photographs. The Campo Nights shawl we were supposed to take a photograph of, but my husband, who does the photography, was a little under the weather, so we decided to postpone it. Now, this coming weekend is due to be really wet, so we're kind of hoping for a break, because otherwise it'll be probably the end of the week. But when you do most of your photo shoots outdoors, you're really reliant on the weather working in your favor. So we're just going to have to wait and see if the weather will play ball with us. And we've got two versions of the Campo Nights to photograph. There's one that I did in the Corriedale, and we're going to go for a nice city vibe with that. So I'm going to go downtown and do some photos with that. The other one we think it's the Donegal, it's Studio Donegal version, and we think that's going to be a little bit more country, perhaps near the sea, perhaps the woods. We're gonna play it by ear and see where that wants to be photographed. So each of them kind of has their own little feel, even though it's the same shawl. It can live quite happily in all sorts of different places. So that's that part of the thing of when we're taking photographs is figuring out, where does this item, shawl, garment want to live? Where is it going to look like it's in its natural environment? And that's all Laura. Laura spends a lot of time thinking about these things. But those two will be in different locations, same shawl, totally different feel to it. So fingers crossed that this weekend we get to do it. Otherwise, it's going to be, I'd say, the end of next week. But it'll still be before it comes out, because the complete pattern will be coming out the week after next, on the day that we announce the grand raffle winner. Again, that's something else you can pop into Knit Hub to have a look at, because we've posted up a photograph of the final raffle prize. We've got a couple of really pretty little plates, a full yarn kit that is going to go out for a shawl with some exclusive yarn. So it's a pretty special prize that we've got going this year. So you just need to get your photograph in of the finished shawl when you're done, but you have a couple of weeks after this. So there should be enough time for most people to get to that point. If you haven't joined the Mystery Knit Along yet, you can still buy it up to that point, but you will not get the videos with it as part of the full package if you purchase it after that final raffle. So if you want the videos and you'd really like that as part of it, it makes more sense to get it at this point. You can jump in and take a look at some of the finished object photographs along a Knit Hub we have, if you want a little inkling of what it looks like, so you have a bit more of a feel, and it's not a complete mystery then. So the other thing that I've never really talked to you a bit about here is our website and all of the tutorials we have there. Like, I know anyone who has looked at our patterns will jump in, and you know that we've got small tutorial videos for each of those sections. One thing that we've been working on behind the scenes over the last couple of months, 6 months at this point now, is we're putting together a beginner series. So if you are a newer knitter, or if you know of someone who would like to get started, we've started building out a fairly extensive catalogue of articles. First of them, some of them are explaining, what is cast on, and videos talking about it, what the different yarn weights are, how you block, how the needle sizes and types work together, and then the basic stitches. So that's all in our Knit Basics section on our website. And that is, it's not a complete piece yet. It's still a work in progress. So if there's anything you think would be a really good fit in there, or something that you kind of wished that you knew along the way, or maybe even might be an experienced knitter, and there might be something that still confuses you that you think could be a really nice thing to have as a little article or a video in there, just pop it up, send me a message onto this, because everything that we put out there is from you. It's from questions we get. It's to answer things that people get confused or that don't make a lot of sense. You were gifted Studio Donegal Chunky Knit Wool. If I get any hat patterns for that weight yarn, you're an intermediate knitter. There's one, it's not quite, the Studio Donegal Chunky is not a super chunky, it's kind of a little less so. But we have a free pattern called Floop, which would be for a chunkier yarn. And you could totally do that. It's a very straightforward knit. It's just one size. You could take a look at the gauge. If it looks a bit heavy, you could just add maybe one more repeat, and the rest of it should work really well. But it's FLOOP, and that makes a really good hat. I don't actually have the hat up here, but it's a basic one with ribbing on the edge, and then decreases into the top here. And you could also even, I mean, if it's just one color, just keep it very basic, nice pom-pom on the top, adjust the length. If you've got a couple of colors, you could possibly introduce some stripes and things like that as you're working through. We had something really exciting actually happen as well over the last few weeks that I think I get to share with you now. I haven't really made a public post about it yet, but I'd like to say it to you here. In Cork, there's the local enterprise office, which is the Leo, and it's the Cork City one, and they go ahead and they've been giving a lot of supports to me all the way through. So they give expansion grants, they have a lot of grow your business courses, and just a whole pile of stuff that tries to help and support smaller and medium-sized businesses. Every year they have an enterprise award, a national enterprise award, and every different enterprise office around the country picks a nomination for it. And I've been working with various different departments there over the last few years, between grants and mentoring, just on a whole pile of different levels. And they came to me a couple of weeks ago and asked if I would be interested in being this year's nomination. And I was kind of thrilled, a little bit terrified, and somewhat overwhelmed with the amount of work and form filling I've got to do in preparation. But it's kind of an amazing thing to happen, and very exciting that knitting gets to be brought to that level from a business point of view, and I get to share it on a national scale now as well. So I just got, I mean, obviously it started with me, but this is not about me. The business for this award wouldn't be there without the team that we have built up now. Kind of tied with like all of the, when I started off, first of all, Nadia, who I think may be on there somewhere, I'm not sure. She was the first person that was working with me on a regular basis, first as a virtual assistant. Then she moved into social media, and over the last couple of years has kind of been my business voice person. Just basically, she's more than the sum of her parts, is Nadia, is all I can say. A couple of years ago, Laura came and joined the business, and it's kind of hard to imagine it not being with her now, because she's taken up such a significant part of what I used to do. Like, all of the visuals is very, very much Laura, and all of the shipping and all of the subscriptions. So I just like what she has brought to the business from a visual point of view is enormous. And of course, over the last couple of months, there's been, I don't know if you've introduced, I'm not sure if it's on here, Hannah, who works mainly remotely, has come in as our social media person. She's started taking over the social media, putting the posts up, and actually kind of organizing the social media campaigns and figuring out where we're going to go and how we put the social media together. And has been doing an amazing job. And it's a hard thing to be dumped into an existing business like this and try to figure out how you learn all of the moving parts. So it's really impressive what she's learned in a very short period of time. And backing all of that up, we've got a bunch of part-time people. Eve and Talia do all of the video edits and the captions for me. Emer is working on all of the community management, test knitting, and I suspect there may be a couple of more additions before too much longer to kind of help with some of the things that we're getting a bit overworked in. So this is definitely not a solo enterprise anymore, even if that's where it started. So thank you, everyone. I feel like this is my Oscar thank you speech. But it's kind of hard to explain how grateful I am to all of the people that are working with me for pulling this all together and getting us to this point. Regardless of what happens, it's very cool. But that's probably the end of what I'm going to talk about today. I will post up those two patterns I linked about, the mithril and also the flu pat. I'll just stick some links onto it there. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to see it again, we can pop it up. And yeah, thanks. See you next week. Post up any questions you have, because I love answering questions or wanting to find out what you want to know about. Bye, everyone.